Look, there are many needs in the world. I mean, it's just vast. You are not required to meet those needs. You can, if you wish, give to the poor whenever you wish. You're not required to. God is running this creation correctly. He does not need you to rush in and put things right. I do not need my son to give his pocket money to the poor. If he does, I take it as a good intention. But I will not keep providing him with endless cash so that he can do it on a world scale. You see, God has the universe running in the correct way, and you're rushing in to put things right does not actually speak of a harmony with him at all. We empathize with everyone's misery. Our solution is not material goods and money. Our solution is a closer relationship with God. That is an inexhaustible resource, open to everyone who knows about it and is willing to take it. And if they're not willing to take it, no amount of material patching up and wealth will ever put things right. You are meeting their declared need, not their real need. You can make token offerings to help that declared need if it helps put across how their real need is to be met. But to pray God for unlimited resources that you may meet the material needs of the creation is not going to get any of us anywhere. It's like rushing out to convert the entire population of the world to your religion. God is already doing what is right in that regard. And your contribution, though well meant, is not actually required or needed. And that doesn't mean God doesn't use you in certain circumstances where it will be a particular blessing to you personally to do so. But it does not mean he needs your help. He only needs your willing cooperation in his meeting your true needs personally. So we have compassion on all needs in the world, matched with a faith and a trust that God has it right. And if you don't have that faith and trust, where are you? without the consciousness of the reality of God. What could be worse? Yes, I have given up wealth, and I've given wealth away. And misguided good intention, well, has some merit, but better by far is guided good intention. If your good intention implies that God is inadequate without your contribution, that's not very good at all. Not for anyone. You may have in mind that God is all-powerful and all-loving. It's the same as the argument for prayer, isn't it? You may argue that God knows all things, is all-loving and all-powerful, so why are you praying? We're meeting our kids' needs. We give way on other suggestions that they may have, that we do for them, only because they press and because we want to communicate that we do care, and it seems to be the only language that they speak, is that we meet these requests to some extent. We don't give them a whole box of chocolates, we give them one or two. We don't cripple the family budget by buying them some unbelievably expensive toy. We do give them presents for birthday and Christmas, say, and at other times just to make life nice. But it's only a way of saying to them that we care. It's not the care itself. The care itself is much deeper and much more all-pervasive. We provide for them. We think of them always. We have them to the fore of our priorities. So you give the beggar a meal, but you don't give him a pension for life. Nor do you give meals to every beggar in your country. You quite simply are not given the resources to do that anyway. Do you see, tithing we think of it as a sort of minimum, but in fact it's put there as a maximum. God does not want you spending more than that. Doesn't need you to spend that, of course. Would rather you tithe your time and your concern towards love and care. But even then, he suggests an upper bound. You're not meant to give all your time and concern to loving others, but he does a greater thing in you than through you. He can care for the whole planet far better than you, and does. You are to give your time in appreciating what he is doing for you and for those you love. And if you do that, if your appreciation grows, you give it resources to grow, and your relationship with God will prosper. And if you exhaust yourself in selflessness, giving into what you see as infinite needs around you, you will simply be overwhelmed and suffer the problems of poverty and deprivation that you are putting upon yourself. nor is it a noble thing to live by faith in the sense of not earning a living, but trusting that the next meal will come direct from God. That's not noble, that's just being given privilege. I mean, in short, others have to work for a living, but you don't. If you can't, well, fair enough. If he chooses to provide for you in some way that doesn't require work, perhaps he gives you wealth, or a benefactor who just wants to support your ministry, well, fine. But to deliberately insist on him doing so, I gave up my job and went into the faith ministry. Nothing noble in that at all. You actually find you become a hireling. You're usually at the mercy of the source of whatever your housing and food is being provided by. Similarly, you're not there to be abused and to suffer fools gladly, so to speak. You're not there to put up with people putting things upon you. You're in a universe where you can make space and distance, where you can choose good company or remain in bad and suffer the consequences of such. You're there to exercise your sovereign right of choice in that regard, and to do it with good intent. So we seek out good company. And if bad company seeks us out, we avoid it, except we feel and believe and see, have confirmation that they are seeking release from their imprisonment, their dilemma, their sorrow and their misery, that they have ears to hear. Well, that's different. We embrace them. We encourage, speak into their heart. We fellowship with them to show them a different way, but not futilely. Not if we find that we're getting nowhere at all. And just, they're actually making no progress towards us at all. And then you're wasting your time. You could be putting your resources elsewhere to good. In other words, be a good economist. Allocate your resources wisely to where they're bringing the best return, as you understand it, of course. The best harvest. God allocates, provides resources for your needs. Certainly, use your surplus to those needs being met. Use the surplus to good intent, if you like, to extend the kingdom of heaven. And that's not the same as giving to the poor, or building bricks and mortar churches all around the country. There will be exceptions where that's quite a blessing, but generally, that's not the frontier on which we're fighting at all. The real need is spiritual, and we use all resources to meet that need. That's what the universe is here for. It is a vast resource to bring us nearer to God, to bring us to maturity, fit for the kingdom of heaven, company with the heavenly host. Forever. Life eternal. In other words, our great need is to know God. But this is life eternal, to know the only true God, and Jesus Christ whom thou hast sent. And by that last point, Jesus Christ whom thou hast sent, I take to mean the true, saving message from God. And you have to be very clear what that is in your heart and mind. In other words, you have to start to be very clear what is needed and what the remedy is. That is our priority, not some unhinged other purpose, such as poverty for its own sake, or giving up addiction for its own sake, or avoiding wealth for its own sake. All these other would-be priorities melt away when you are taken with the only noble priority, which is the appreciation of the goodness of God, and to encourage others to be likewise appreciative. It's as simple as that. Thank you, Heavenly Father.
Well, I'm aware, of course, that Jesus said to the rich young ruler, if you want treasure in heaven, sell all you have and give to the poor. And come and follow me, of course. I'm not sure if that's good advice if he has a family and so forth. He might be pre-committed. It's a bit like give to him that asks. The unscrupulous will ask for everything you've got in that case. You might see that as a blessing to acquiesce in their request, but doesn't seem to be the best use of one's resources, does it? So what does he mean when he says to the rich young ruler, sell all you have and give to the poor, come and follow me? I think he's saying the obvious to the rich young man, that you're possessed by your wealth. There's no way you'll be able to do this. You've met the minimum requirements to get you into the kingdom of heaven. You kept the law. But you haven't met the spirit of the law. You know, not loving the poor. And the poor are just symbolic of those that are in need. Now, Jesus doesn't see poverty as a need in the same way as spiritual poverty. He's seeing spiritual poverty as the real need. Material poverty is its presentment very often in this world. So, poor stands for those that are in serious want. And serious want from a godly person's point of view is to be in want of the understanding of God, and therefore not to have eternal life. And of course, as he points out, it's not just dedicating your material needs, but your non-material needs, your time and resources and your very person. Come and follow me. In other words, I want all of that as well to be given up, to be given to this purpose. So overall, if you're of this sort of attitude that says, now I'm going to use all my resources to achieve this goal, what is the goal? Well, modern world seems to think it's that I become perfect. But really, God's not desperately concerned about me personally becoming perfect. he's got an awful lot of other people to worry about as well. So we're fairly clear that that's not the ultimate ideal goal to have. It's something to do with care of all people and doing God's will. What does God's will seem to be? Well, it seems to be something to do with creation and the purpose of creation. So it's best to reflect, not for too long, but to reflect on what that purpose might be, and to try and see, well, how can I be in harmony with that purpose, that will? Thy will be done. Well, it's not by being predominantly concerned for luxury goods and so on, obviously, or spending all your time and thought and energies on making your own life wonderful. Similarly, give to him that asks. It's not likely to include fraudulent people that are trying to swindle you out of your possessions. It's more likely a sort of overall statement that instead of being ungiving and uncharitable, become kind, truly kind, charitable, concerned for others. Have a spirit that says, I want to cooperate, I want to find ways of helping and blessing you, as opposed to I'm obsessed with blessing myself and clawing in all my resources and time to a service to simply self-aggrandizement. But of course, if you take these things literally, then, are you going to take literally, if thine eye offend thee, pluck it out? And obviously, singularly, what would be the point in taking one eye out and not the other? I mean, you have to realize the language is not fussy, it's not delicate, it's not pernickety and precise. It carries the basic meaning to those that have ears to hear, and those that don't have ears to hear, well, it doesn't make sense, just nonsense. So if the right hand offend thee, cut it off. Well, you going to take that literally? I don't think so. Does it mean that if your abilities are actually holding you back from entering the kingdom of heaven, well, you'd be better switching your time and effort to not exercising those abilities but doing something else. You might be a wonderful market trader, for instance, or an extremely skillful butcher, slaughterer. I mean, you might be a very good soldier, just brilliant at killing people. You might be a scientist who's just invented the atom bomb. You'd be better putting your talents to some other purpose, wouldn't you? So when is Jesus speaking allegorically and not literally? Well, certainly when the literal strikes you as pretty unlikely, in fact absurd. Thank you, Heavenly Father.